Hey guys, happy Friday. So, I don't know about you all, but I am just so freaking stoked to start this and clean out the gut and just clean our bodies and do this whole cleanse. And I mean, summer's here and just so ready to do this with y'all. I feel like we have just such an awesome group of women, and I would not want to do this with anybody else. So, and thank you, by the way, for also posting all your videos. I know a few of you still have to do them. Don't be scared. It's okay. But thank you to those who have introduced yourself. It makes this so much more real, and that, we're not just writing things and it's nice to see your beautiful faces and talking about what's real and being vulnerable and, being able to get out there and make a connection with everybody. So thank you. All right. So I'm going to get into the food a lot of it because that's the main thing of why we're all here, right? So you guys might want to write some notes down. I am going to upload a PDF later. But at the end of all of this, what I want you to do is in the comments of this video is write something that either write a question that maybe you didn't understand and maybe I didn't explain it great. Or two, tell us something that you've learned through this video, or maybe it's something that you already know and it's just re-triggered a thought in your brain and you're like, yeah, this is a really cool fact. I'm really happy I'm doing this. Just something that you're excited about, or ask a question at the end of all this. So what I want to first get into is we do talk about ketosis a lot, and I want to make sure that you all know that that's not a term that we should just be throwing around loosely. It takes a lot for someone to get into ketosis, and technically the term ketosis and doctorately, it's only used basically for people who are diabetic type 1. The whole ketosis fad diet now wasn't ever really a fad. It was so people who had diabetes type 1 could get their shit straight. So now that it's a fad and it's getting out there even more, I want you all to know just a little bit more about it. And it's not a bad thing to get into ketosis because that's how you are going to start cleansing your body. And that's what happens. It's also known as a low carb diet, or the ketogenic diet is what it's also called. What happens is our bodies, we burn our water, our carbs, our sugars, and then our fats. And since we're eliminating the carbs and we're eating higher fat content, that's all our bodies are going to pull from is the fat. That's why they're saying high protein, high fat, less carbs, less sugar, because they're all pulling, because where your energy levels are going to be pulling from is from your fat. So what happens is if you actually get your body into ketosis, which can take a long time, it's not really going to happen in these 10 days. You are going to feel flu-like symptoms at some point, maybe for a day, because it's technically your body is going through carb and sugar withdrawals. You're not going into ketosis. It takes a while to do that. So from there, let me read this to you. When you go into ketosis, your liver produces ketones. And so those are three water-soluble molecules that are produced from the liver, from your fatty acids during periods of low-carb restricted diets, prolonged intense exercise, starvation, and untreated type 1 diabetes. And that's not saying, intense exercise means like the runner's high. That's a whole different thing. That has something to do with it, but when you have a runner's high, there's leptin released and there's a lot of other stuff that's just released. So that's what ketosis really is. And that's why they also say you need to drink a lot of water during this, because since it's 3 water-soluble molecules, your body needs to start getting rid of those, and you just need to drink a lot more water. So from there, the next thing I wanted to go into is the reason why this is a whole low-carb diet. And when I say carb, I'm talking mostly grain. I'm not talking complex carbs like veggies. I'm talking like grains, like multigrain, wheat bread, like crackers, cereal. Like, get that shit out of your diet for the next 10 days, or starting Tuesday. Get it out. I mean, try it this weekend. Focus on having the real stuff that comes from the earth, like quinoa, chia, like the real good, like sweet potatoes. Those are complex carbs. I'm going to, in that PDF that I said that I was going to upload, I break down simple and complex carbs. And what it is simple carbs are 1 to 2 molecules combined to make a simple carb. And so that means what happens is your body burns it faster. So that's like, and simple carbs are also known as simple sugars. So a simple carb would be like white rice, white bread, refined bread. What else do we got here? soda, corn syrup, maple syrup, jams, candy. So another thing is jams, y'all, like get that out of, don't have that because it's filled with corn syrup. So, and I know majority of us have already talked about ingredients and looking at ingredients and how to read it. If you have a hard time reading the ingredients, let me know. But the thing here is to not have anything that has added sugar to it. Honey is technically considered a simple carb, but it burns like a complex carb. So if you want to add that to your coffee, go for it. I'm not going to tell you not to. We're going to go ham already as it is. So have the honey. I know we talked about possibly not having it in the last one, but do it since it burns like a complex carb. And again, we're going more so for the less and less carbs. So from here, complex carb it's 3 or more molecules branched together like a necklace, and it just takes your body a lot more energy to burn it. So that's the stuff that we want to go for. That is your multigrain bread. So after we get out of this diet, if you want to start incorporating the grain back into your diet, that is absolutely fine. But for this group only, there's no multigrain bread because grain can stop your liver from cleansing itself. So we are just getting rid of bread in general. Complex carbs are going to be okay. So because they're higher in fiber. So on complex carbs are also veggies, which is the cool thing. So I don't know if you guys have these containers or not. I highly recommend getting them. A yellow is a carb. So and red is a protein. And according to what I need to do in that book that I have, I need 2 of these a day. I need 2 of these a day. It's my fruit. I need 3 of these a day. It's my greens. And so what I do is if I need more carbs in my diet, instead of having grain, I will be putting sweet potatoes. I will be putting more green leafy vegetables in here because it is a complex carb. That's where there's a little bit of a disconnect with understanding what a simple sugar and complex carb and everything is. So I hope I explained that a little bit more clearly of what those different things are and why they are important and what to look for when you're fueling your body properly. Okay, so that's ketosis. That is low carb. What else do I have? I have the whole acid alkaline. So what I posted the other day, that scale, our bodies need to be at a 7.3, and a lot of you mentioned that you're at about a 5. So we got to get you up in there. Blackberries are at the lower end. It is a little bit of a shocker, but they just have more acidity in it. They're not bad for you because they have antioxidants in it. So I don't want you guys to think that you can't have that. Having a little bit of acid in your system is good because you need something to combat it's a balance. At the end of the day, it's a balance. You don't need to be at a 10, you're not at a 0, but you do need to be more higher on the alkaline scale. One thing that I did post in the grocery list was rice, how white rice isn't allowed in this. However, Georgie did post a meal recipe on wild rice. And if you look at the alkaline acidity scale, wild rice is high in alkaline. So knowing right now that we are going to be taking out simple carbs and complex carbs, that's fine. However, since it's higher on the alkaline scale, that would be a type of complex carb that can be allowed during this time. Because rice can come straight from the earth. It's not a grain, it's not being processed, it is what it is. So just to clear anything up like that. Next thing that I want to talk about is how I also wrote in the meats and the fruits, or the meats and the cheeses and the dairy and everything, it's still goat cheese, and the majority of you know why. Goat cheese has a similar molecular structure to a woman's breast milk, where cow's milk is a complete 180 and doesn't have anything. We're humans. We're not supposed to be drinking other animals' milk. We gotta think about that, y'all. We did not come out of a cow. We should not be drinking cow's milk. And technically we shouldn't be drinking goat's milk either. But if you really want cheese, goat's milk is the best way to go. It's still high on the acid side. So at the end of the day, dairy and cheese and all that shit is still just not good for you. Just as much as I love freaking cheese, it's just not good for you. So you got to think about what's important. I would highly recommend not having cheese during this, because if you're going to do this, go all in. There's other different ways to make your stuff taste good with your spices, your oils, everything like that. Use the other good plant-based stuff. And if you want to have meat, make sure it's grass-fed. And the reason why it's grass-fed is because grass-fed animals produce more omega-3s versus animals who are grain-fed, they have more omega-6s. And the difference with those is omega-3 fatty acids actually cause you to fight off against inflammation. And we all know that inflammation causes cancer. That's where disease is ridden. That's where our bodies start to break down. So having more omega-3s in our system versus omega-6s, which actually cause inflammation, is not good. So that's why if who's ever done the Whole30 before, that's where the whole grass-fed everything comes into play. So again, like we're taking the acid alkaline, keto, Whole30, and then I'm going to start talking about intermittent fasting. We're going to take all the best things from all those, because at the end of the day, all those talk about is not eating processed shit. So we're going into intermittent fasting, and everyone's like, should I intermittent fast? Should I do this? Should I, take 12 to 15 hours of not eating? Here's the thing. Like, you're not supposed to truly eat 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed anyways, simply because the acid in your stomach can get up into your esophagus and can cause stress in your esophagus and can cause lesions, especially if you do it often enough. For those who maybe had an anorexic or a bulimic problem in the past, if you actually make yourself throw up enough, you can get cancer of the throat. My ex from high school, his sister made herself throw up enough that she actually had cancer in her throat and had to go through chemo. She was 21 years old. This shit is real. So knowing that, you're truly not supposed to eat 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. If you're into like the 4th or 5th hour and you can't go to sleep, you do want something that's a little bit more soothing. Apple cider vinegar and honey would be great before you go to bed. Even though honey is acidic and apple cider vinegar is acidic, when it's combined in your system, how that mixes is it becomes alkalinized. So if you're going to have something like that, have that before you go to bed. I know we talked about having protein and everything like that before, but we're really going to try and just clean the gut here, y'all. So like this is the main thing, is having a clean and clear gut is what is going to help us just be mentally clear, just be on our shit. And here's another thing. And I don't know if you follow him or not, or have heard of him, but Dr. David Perlmutter, who lives in Naples, Florida, he has done so many different studies on gut health, and he was talking about one of his buddies who did a study on 34 women out in Harvard, and what he did was he broke it up into 3 different sections. The first group of women had a all-organic Greek yogurt. The middle section had just plain yogurt that was from, some big, large corporation, and then the third had a placebo. At the end of the 4 weeks of the study, where every single one of these 3 groups had one of these every single day. At the end of the 4 weeks, they did a neurology brain scan when they showed them a picture. And as they showed them a picture, they watched what their brains did. And the crazy thing is, on the photo, how they described it was a pretty graphic, not fun, good-looking image to look at. And the 2 groups who had the placebo and the corporate yogurt, they had an actual physical reaction, and their brains were firing at different angles and far more. Their anxiety levels went straight up. When it came to the ones who had the organic, grass-fed, probiotic yogurt, they were calm. They didn't have anything on their face. Their anxiety receptors weren't firing at all angles. So basically, they were showing that their anxiety levels were not challenged as much. They weren't as influenced with the outside forces happening. So this all goes back to what I was going to say with Dr. David Perlmutter, as he truly deeply talks about how our bellies are our second brain. What we feed our bodies is truly going to our brain, and what it talks about. Our belly equals our brain. And I want you guys to just kind of tell yourself that, because if you understand that your brain is fully functioning and you can truly become happier because you eat better, because of the sensors in your belly and in your gut and in your liver, you can become more clear-minded. You can get rid of a lot of maybe diseases that you have in your body. There's some people who have epilepsy go on this ketosis to not have seizures. This stuff is so real, and I'm just so pumped to do this next week, because Our bodies need it. We're already fighting against so many different heavy metals and different toxins out there and just shit that flies our way all the time being a human being. And I'm so stoked to do this with y'all. I'm going to be posting a PDF later. So remember, this weekend we got to post our before and after photos. We got to get our meal plans ready. And that will also be on the PDF that I'm going to post for you all to write in and post by before Tuesday morning. And before and after, or before photos, before Tuesday morning, and then also your workout. What are you planning on doing? When are you planning on doing it? You have to do it at least 5 days a week. And the reason why I ask what time are you going to do it is because, like Emily Alamo said, if you actually write it down and you know that other people are doing it and you have to post a sweaty selfie, you're most likely going to do it. So get your schedules ready to go and let's do this. So I'm going to be posting that PDF later. It's going to have a lot of fun information on it, like what I just talked about. And I'm looking forward to any questions, your comments, what you think about all this. I know it's a little bit crazy, but this is how the world's starting to go, y'all. This is just the trends that are happening, and it's better to be aware of it so maybe you can help someone too. So awesome. Well, have an awesome Friday, you guys. I will talk to you soon. See ya.